Hey everybody, Jimmy with the Triple C Collective here for another Superhero Saturday commentary track for She-Hulk. Episode 4, Is This Not Real Magic? This is episode 4 of 9 for She-Hulk, and I've been a big champion for this for this for this series, not just this episode. But this was probably the most probably this was the most different episode. I think I have the most like indifferent feelings on it, and that's not like necessarily a bad thing. A lot happened, and it's making me think of like things they might possibly be teasing and some setup for things in the future. And yeah, so like we'll dive into it. This was interesting, and it even just starts interesting with the music. The music for it is really interesting because it's like a mix of like the almost like almost like a Spider-Man the animated series kind of sound, an X-Men the animated series, and it's got a weird little mix of that stuff going on, and it was just an interesting opening, and it opens then with us going into the Donnie Blaze magic show. So let me just do a full stop here. Donnie Blaze, very similar to, I don't know, maybe Johnny Blaze, Mr. Ghost Rider, uh, not Gabriel Reyes, the Cosmic Ghost Rider. Got no problem. I actually really liked the guy that they had as Gabriel Reyes, the Ghost Rider, in the Agents of Shield stuff. I thought he was really good, and I thought they kind of like muted that character a little bit, but for him as an actor and his portrayal and stuff, I actually really liked him. I thought he was really good, and it seemed like he was almost going to have a second chance at like maybe a Ghost Rider series. It almost seemed like on Hulu for a little bit, but then they ended up canceling that. But here we get a magic show, Donnie Blaze. You might recognize this guy if you've ever watched Entourage. He plays the director throughout that series named Billy Walsh. Uh, and so, like I said, we're at his magic show. He brings up a person from the audience named Madison, uh, spelled with a Y, but not where you expect, and two N's. Uh, Hilarious. She's great comic relief throughout this like whole episode. She's like really funny, extremely funny, I think. But then we get like into his magic show. He tries to do some fun stuff. It's not really doing anything, not really getting the applause. Tries to turn white flowers, roses into red ones by snapping his fingers and I don't know, kind of lighting them on fire. And Madison is like, they just don't smell like anything. and and then his like, I don't know, manager, hype man is what She-Hulk calls him like later on, which is hilarious. Uh it's like, do the thing. And then this is where we find out of like he has one of the rings that we see, that Ned has wielded, that Wong, Doctor Strange, any one of the Mystic Arts wields or has. And then he does his little portal, his little dimensional portal, and sends Madison through. And it is, oh man, it's wild. It's funny. So then Madison comes through and meets Wong and tells Wong story of meeting a demon, gave him 6 drops of her blood, and I believe the demon was named uh, Justin. Yeah, Justin Jack maybe. And she's just telling this outrageous story to Wong, and like Wong is really upset because he knows who Donnie Blaze is. He's a cut rate musician, not a musician, cut rate magician who was a part of everything that Wong and the Sorcerer Supreme and all of them do and all of that kind of stuff. He was a part of there, then he got kicked out. Then we go to Jen Walters' house. We get the she's like, oh yeah, we all love Wong. Wong makes your Twitter proof for the week, and like that's really funny. Her dad shows up, and her dad is like, I'm here to protect you. With the recent run-in and everything that you had, I've got security cameras. I got this thing. I got that thing. Jen's like, your daughter's a Hulk. Like, it'll be fine. I'll take care of them next. The same thing. He's like, well, what did the police say? Police stuff. And he's like, you didn't call the police? She's like, why? Like, if they come back, I'll kick their ass, and then you can use the shovel. That's so great. We go to the office now. She's finishing up her profile, puts it out there as like her corporate like headshot that we've seen like before for Jen and all that kind of stuff. And so she finishes her profile. She's like, yeah, it's good. I finished it. It's awesome. It's so funny. Nikki comes into her office and is like, hey, you gotta watch this like interview and stuff. In the background though of the clip that is playing is her saying specifically that she did not come up with the name She-Hulk for herself, that it was dubbed on her by some random dude after thinking about it for 2 seconds. And so that's really funny. Wong shows up talking about, Donnie Blaze, his magician and his magic and stuff. And Wong's like, see how I put him in quotes? And like Jen Walters, yes, I see that. I do acknowledge that. And then he tells the story, summoned 3 kegs and a frat buddy, got kicked out. And now these like teachings and sending to other dimensions, these things are sacred. We can't just have like unlicensed people doing this stuff, like people who haven't gone through the proper training and all that. And she's like, hey, this should be pretty open closed. Do you have any paperwork, an NDA, contract, anything? He's like, no, we answer to a higher power and blah blah, and like goes on and all this, and like Jen Walters was like, that's great, that's awesome, but here we go by the American Book of Laws, so that's not going to stand up in a court of law. We need something like better than that. Then we get the I love this lawyer bar that they go to. I love these little like snippets. We get like one-ish, about like one an episode, and it's really awesome. Jen Walters is working on her cease and desist for Wong. Then she does woohoo a Blonsky parole brief, and like she starts working on that. And Nikki's like, please don't tell me you just woo-wooed a Blonsky parole brief. And then Nikki's looking at Jen's dating profile, and it's like, hetero life is so grim. And it's just looking through, and it's like, you can't use your corporate picture as the profile here. She even floats the idea of making a profile as She-Hulk, which is funny. And then some random dude tries to buy him a drink, and Nikki's like, can't you see that since there's actually us, we're not alone, so we're okay? And then Jen finally is just like, can't you see we're trying to get some work done? We're good. We're good. And he's like, all right, if you change your mind, let me know. And it's just like, oh, Jesus. Okay, man. Okay, dude. That's fine. And then we get the Donnie Blaze delivering the cease and desist to Donnie Blaze, which is great. And this whole thing is just awesome. This little bit here is great. Wong tries to like almost like start showing like Johnny Blaze like real magic and stuff, and like Jen's like, no, you won't. That won't happen. That's not gonna happen here. We're not doing that. And that's awesome. Then Jen's like matcher like ringer goes off, and Donnie Blaze opens up his phone and like clicks it, and a little lighter shows up, and like if you want to have a hot time or something like that, oh man, it's like cringe worthy for him. And then Wong, like they're like, don't stop practicing magic, and they're like, well, we won't do that. And Wong pulls out a ball, like twists his ear, pulls a ball out of his mouth, throws it back at him. Uh, and this is all interesting. Like Donnie Blaze, like again, the only reason why I ever like really kind of focused a little bit on him in this is that he's got the name very similar to Johnny Blaze, and like it's there for a reason. They're not that like that. It's there for a reason. It's meant to make this parallel. I'm sure that I'm making here, which is interesting because we do have Daredevil showing up. Um, later in this season. It's probably, I mean, once we get there, I'll talk about like why I think he'll show up in next episode, which I think will be really great. But yeah, I like all of this stuff is very interesting. All of this stuff is awesome. And I really like She-Hulk. This has been a fun watch. This has been a fun episode up until this point. Like we're at the like quarter way, like almost halfway point of the episode. And then we get the dating profile or from the dating profile matcher. She gets Jen has a match and she goes on a date. And this dude's just a loser dude who was just trying to mooch free drinks off a girl, I guess. Because he really didn't seem interested in anything that Jen offered, and I don't understand why. I also don't understand why. And like it didn't seem like they were actually bowling either. It looked like they were literally just having drinks at the bowling alley. It's like if you're gonna go meet up at a bowling alley, you can bowl and still drink as well. Like that could be fun. I don't know. Maybe not. I haven't dated in a long time, so I don't know. But yeah, this dude is just the worst. He's like, I hate LA. I'm a true New Yorker. Lived there for 14 months. Sure, okay, man. Like he's just pitiful. He's just the worst. Then we get a cut back now to the courtroom drama of it all, and they have the cease and desist with like Johnny and all that, or I'm sorry, with Donnie Blaze and his manager and his lawyer, and they are there to fight it against Wong and everything. Like one of the things actually that they're talking about is that you can't copyright magic or anything like that. Donnie, even when they were handing the cease and desist to him, to Donnie Blaze, he was like, you can't copyright magic or like art, and Jen was like, no, you can, you absolutely can copyright art. That's what artists do. Doesn't matter what kind of artist you are, a writer, drawer, painter, animator, whatever it is, that's what they do. So yeah. That was just interesting. And then we get the conversation of like real magic, because even in the courtroom, like Donnie's like just throwing smoke bombs down and having his lawyer place a rabbit behind a handkerchief or whatever, and it's just interesting. And then they bring in Madison. Madison tells her story of being there at the Donnie Blaze show and how she was scared, spooky, fun. The lawyer for Donnie is like, well, that's like a sweet spot for magicians. They want it to be spooky and fun and stuff. They talk about a demon. This is what I was talking about. They talk about a demon Jake, and the Donnie's like manager is like, hey, I know Jake the demon. And we know that he got 6 drops of blood from what she told Wong. Here, she says that she made a demon pact with him and wouldn't talk about it, otherwise he'd damn her soul and and like all the souls that she loves. And so like she was like during all of that. So I wonder now with the kind of musical cue that we got at the beginning with the confirmation of mutants in the MCU via Miss Marvel. Spoilers for that. Sorry, but that's already been out for a while now. So, yeah. And so with them bringing in the talk of mutants in that show, now if you go run and watch Miss Marvel after this, it doesn't. They don't talk about it until they. I won't actually say this. I will say they do the classic comic book thing of revealing the mutants to us, the audience, and it's actually really awesome that they did it that way. A lot of people, I'm sure, hated it, but I loved it. It's like it's a classic comic book thing, like classic comic book reveal. I'll leave it at that, and you go have fun. Miss Marvel's an excellent show. Go check out my commentary tracks on that. Back to She-Hulk. So I wonder if this demon that they're talking about here is actually Mephisto, because since WandaVision has come out, everyone's been like, when are we getting Mephisto? When are we getting Mephisto? Well, for a little bit there, we didn't necessarily have all of the X-Men and stuff. Again, after Miss Marvel and the confirmation of like mutants and stuff in the MCU, like for sure, I think Mephisto is now a topic that could be talked about again, and they could be sprinkling them in here for this. I have no idea. I really don't know what they are doing, what they are planning, or where they would want to go with this. I have no idea. So like, I don't know how they do it. Maybe we're all wrong, and maybe I'm wrong, and like anyone who was talking about Mephisto for it is also wrong. I don't know. But time will tell, and I'm excited to be on this journey with them. Like, I'm super stoked for this. This is going to be a great watch. And then we get, Donnie saying that, like, he is doing real magic. Wong is defending that the way that he does his portals and all that, that is real magic. And then, in the end, the judge allows Donnie to continue his working of his magic until she decides to come up with a decision of how to rule this, either in favor of Donnie or against Wong or whatever. And then we get at the end, once they make that ruling, they all decide to like start leaving. Madison's like, Wongers, do you want to go get Froyo? And he's like, okay, fine. Yes, we'll get Froyo, but no more spoiling Sopranos. And she's like, okay. And then, of course, she goes on to spoil something about the Sopranos. I mean, at that point, like, again, at that point, watch it. It's been available on, I think they even were releasing the Sopranos seasons on VHS at one point, and then obviously DVD and Blu-ray, and now I know it's streaming on HBO Max. Yeah. So the courtroom drama was great. Then we get the Friday night talk, and the Friday night talk is also awesome. Jen is in her PJs. She's talking with Nikki, and then, Nikki's like, it's a Friday night, you should be doing something, and, like, Jen was thinking that tonight was Saturday, but it was actually Friday, and Nikki's like, you should be out doing something, like, enjoying life or whatever, and, it's great. Jen then decides to make a She-Hulk, profile, and she gets a bunch of matches and stuff, and She-Hulk herself even says that this has got to be pretty demoralizing for Jen. And I just want to say, like, that Jen Walters' non-She-Hulk form, Tatiana Maslany, beautiful. She-Hulk or not, beautiful. So I don't know why we're taking jabs at just like regular Jen Walters here. Kind of feel like that's a little unnecessary. But like either way, like that. Hey, I'm not writing the show. But yeah, so I don't like that they were taking jabs at just like Jen, lawyer Jen, like that. Then she has that speed date night, or like a bunch of dates in a row and stuff, and the first guy is like, wow, you look stunning, like how much can you deadlift? And she's like, I don't know, a literal ton. He's like 600, and I'm not even a superhuman or a superhero. And she's like, oh, okay. And then that dude kind of like snaps and is like, hey, is anyone going to take our order here or something? And sorry for anyone that I just blew out your eardrums on that you were listening to this with headphones in. Sorry about that. But yeah, then so that guy, like, goes on a date with him, fine. Then there's a director guy that she goes on a date with, and that director guy is like, my movie went to Sundance about a lawyer who becomes the lawyer for the vice president, and like Jen's like, oh, okay, because this guy's just the worst. Then we've got the fan of like She-Hulk and stuff who like matched with her, and he's like, oh man, the battle in court with like Tatiana and or Titania and stuff, like crazy, insane. It was wild. Like, is your skin indestructible? Yeah, pretty much anything. Yeah, except for like vibranium, right? Why? Do you have like some vibranium that you want to test it on? And he's like, oh no, I'm sorry, I was just asking a question. And he's like, man, what a specimen you are. And she's like, did you just call me a specimen? And he's like, oh, I meant that in like a compliment way towards you. And oh man, is it funny. He is sinking ships. But she turns and breaks the fourth wall and is like, anything worse than dating in your 30s? Finally, the last date seems to be the biggest winner for her, in that it is with the pediatric oncologist doctor. And he's like, like, I've been on so many first dates. I really hate talking about myself. Like, can you tell me about you? And she really likes that, really intrigued, loves it, And then he's like, but first, do you want to split some fries? And she's like, yes, but we should get those to go. And that's awesome. It's great. She-Hulk smash. And so funny. But that's great. I like that Dr. Dude seems nice. She seems into it. And then we cut back to Donnie Blaze, and oh man, this dude, he's just ridiculous. Has another person up on the stage, does the fire hole thing, and then the guest, the participant or whatever from the crowd, is like, I'm not getting in your fire hole. Like, you did this to one of my friends last week, and they ended up in a parking garage. And he's like, all right, well, let's try, like, just come on, just do it, it'll be fine. And she's like, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not gonna just get in there and like do that. No, I'm not doing it. And finally he's like, all right, well, fine, let's try something else. And he goes ahead and he opens up a whole new like portal, or no, he doesn't do that yet. She gets the denial. Then we also get that X-Men, Spider-Man the Animated Series kind of like pounding kind of music style going again. He makes a dove appear. Donnie Blaze does. The dove lays an egg in the participant's hand, the woman from the crowd hand. The egg hatched a creature. And he's like, oh, okay, well, let me try something a little different now. He opens what I will call the hellhole, and we get a cut to Wong watching This Is Us, and Donnie then comes for Wong because a whole bunch of those little creatures come out of that fire pit, that fire hole that he made, and Wong's just like, see, this is why you shouldn't be doing this, but I'm not going to do it because you asked, I'm going to do it because we need to save people. Jen still on the date with the with the pediatric oncologist. Wong, is like calling, calling, calling. She sees that it's Wong at least one time. He just portals over and he's like, Jen Walters, why aren't you picking up your phone? I've been calling you. And Wong just looks over and sees the doctor and he's like, oh, I understand why now. So never mind. Yeah, he's like, oh, I see why. So, Donnie Blaze, I need your help. He opened up a portal, and we need to go fight some stuff. And then we've got the battle at Donnie's show, and this is just an awesome creature feature. We've got little guys like flopping around that were like from like the egg and like probably other eggs and stuff. Then we've got one that I would call, I don't know, maybe like the raccoon kind of size or whatever. Maybe a little bit smaller than that with wings. That's really funny to see. Then we've got like the big one that's like a boar or like, like a pig or something like that. Some big kind of thing like running around and all of this. And these creatures are just great. I just love every little bit that we are getting from them. They're so good. I just love it. Jen is like giving awesome commentary on how much she'd rather be someplace else with the doctor, kissing his face because she really likes him. Thinks he's incredibly hot. Not that that should be the only thing that matters, or the only thing that matters. And like it's great. It's just a great little bit. Jen then falls back on top of the the guy and is like, I'm sorry, before she falls back on top of the guy, Wong gets another portal going and they're able to start tossing all of these things. Wong closes the demon portal, opens another one, is able to toss these creatures out there with no issue, and then eventually opens up another portal for Jen to come through. She is falling down on top of the the doctor, and it's like, oh, like where were we and stuff, and it's just so funny. It's just so awesome. And then we get the Jen, like, he's like, oh, you've got something in your like hair and stuff. She takes it and then basically just gets off him, picks him up, and walks him to the bedroom because She-Hulk smash. And then we get the next morning, and the next morning is really great as well. The next morning is, we get Jen making breakfast and everything. She just had a really great night with this really great doctor and everything. He walks out there and it's like, who are you? Where am I? And she's like, oh, Jen, not in Hulk form, just Jen. And he was like, oh, cool, unexpected. She's like, I made breakfast, and then he dips. And this like hurt me even watching this. I was not a fan of like watching this and everything. That seemed like it hurt. And so he's like, I'm gonna go. Then we get Jen Walters again breaking the fourth wall, being like, the hot doctor is such a cliche, and of course it's not gonna work, or whatever. Then she gets a knock on her door, and she's like, hey, he's like, hi, delivery for Jen Walters, and she's like, I smell process server when I see one. And he's like, all right, yeah, you've got, you're being sued by Titania Worldwide for improper use of a trademark. And she's like, improper use of a trademark? What's she suing me for? And then Jen looks through, sees the papers, and is like, oh, she's suing me for the trademark name of She-Hulk. And Jen's like, well, that's just like what they call me. And he's like, not if she trademarked it first. And he's like, oh, and Jen's like, oh, really? That's how it works? And then she just like closes the door on him and everything. It's so good. I love it. And then we get Jen being like, oh man, that's kind of a bummer way to end this episode. And she's like, that's kind of a bummer way to end this episode. But I'm sure there's a fun tag. And then of course there is a fun tag. Well, actually, hold on. Before I do that, Jen being served. I didn't see if on the document if it happened to say who was representing Titania Worldwide. I have no idea, or Titania Worldwide. I have no idea who is. But the way that I would assume Matt Murdock probably works into it is that he either represents Titania or he will end up representing Jen Walters during this case and this hearing and all of that stuff. So I'm not entirely sure how that will work out, but I'm pretty stoked. I'm still very excited for Charlie Cox to show up here and everything, and yeah, I'm super stoked for it. It's going to be great. Then we get the fun mid-credit scene, and the fun mid-credit scene is Madison and Wong watching This Is Us. When Donnie Blaze came to get Wong, like when the show, when all of the stuff started happening to like his magic act and whatnot, he was watching This Is Us. Right now with Madison, he is watching This Is Us again, and it's just so great. Then they have the awesome conversation of, have you ever had this drink, that drink, this drink, what about this drink or that drink? And like, it's so funny because they have had a bunch of the same drinks that they seem to like and whatnot. And then Wong is asked like what his favorite drink is, and he's like, I gotta do like a gin and tonic or whatever. And Madison's like, oh, we've got to find a place with bottomless gin and tonics. I don't know if there is one, but we got to find one. And like, that is very funny. That was very awesome to see and hear and get that. But then like the episode's over, and that's how it wraps up. And I gotta say again, I actually really liked this episode. I thought it was really good. I'm excited to see what happens next. I also like 100%. I've got a feeling Matt Murdock's got to show up in the next episode. Otherwise, I don't know like when he'll show up. Then he might show up on the back half of the season or whatever. You never know. But either way, I love She-Hulk. I want to thank you all for joining me here for this Superhero Saturday commentary track. And I hope you all stay safe.